My name is Denise. I'm standing in the main conference room at Zenith Innovations, looking at my sister, Isabella, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. She'd been in the middle of another self-congratulatory speech when I walked in. The room fell silent as I calmly made my way to the head of the table and set down my briefcase. Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the delay. Shall we begin? I said, my voice steady and professional. Isabella stammered. Denise, what are you doing here? This is a meeting with the CEO of Zenith Innovations about the merger. I sat down and opened my copy of the acquisition agreement. Isabella, I am the founder and CEO of Zenith Innovations. Now, about that so-called merger. The silence that followed was deafening. Isabella's face went pale, and the other executives from Aurora Media, the company she worked for, were frantically flipping through the folders we'd just distributed. It all started at our family's annual reunion dinner. I was sitting at the polished oak table in the private dining room of a high-end hotel, watching Isabella hold court. She was dressed in a designer outfit that cost a fortune, and she had everyone's attention. Isabella dramatically waved her champagne glass and announced, "The CEO personally thanked me for closing the Thompson deal. I've been promoted to Senior Vice President of Marketing." She paused, soaking in the admiration of our relatives. I took a sip of water, trying to ignore the urge to check my phone. My messaging app was probably full of updates about the executive interviews at Zenith Innovations the next day. As the founder and CEO, I should have been reviewing the candidates, but family came first, even though they had no idea who I really was. My mother, a kind-hearted but somewhat narrow-minded woman, interrupted my thoughts. Denise, dear, are you still doing that freelance work? The way she said it made it sound like I was doing something menial. Little did she know that my freelance work was a cover for running one of the most successful tech companies in the country. Yes, Mom. Still freelancing, I replied, keeping my voice neutral and thinking about the stack of acquisition paperwork on my desk. Isabella reached across the table and patted my hand with a fake look of sympathy. Denise, you still haven't found your path. There might be an entry-level position opening up in my department at Aurora Media. I could put in a good word for you. I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. The entry-level position she was talking about was at a company that Zenith Innovations was about to acquire. Isabella had a high-profile role at Aurora, and she'd be interviewing at my company the next day. That's very kind of you, Isabella, but I'm comfortable where I am, I said, my voice steady. My father, a strict and traditional man, shook his head in disappointment. Denise, you had so much potential. You graduated at the top of your class from Stanford Business School and had offers from all the big consulting firms. Now, at 30, you're still trying to figure things out while your sister is achieving great things. The irony was overwhelming. Last month, I'd been named one of the 30 under 30 most influential business leaders by Business Insider. The article used a photo where my face was partially obscured. Only a few people knew what the reclusive founder of Zenith Innovations looked like, and that's exactly how I wanted it. Isabella then said, with a false sense of nostalgia, "Remember when we were kids? You always said you'd run your own company someday. How's that dream going?" Better than you could ever imagine, I thought to myself. My Aunt Helen chimed in. I have a friend who runs a small accounting firm. Maybe she could use some help with data entry. Thanks, Aunt Helen, but I'm doing fine, I said, pushing my barely touched dessert aside. Isabella scoffed. Denise, you live in a small apartment and drive an old car. You barely make ends meet. Meanwhile, I just closed the biggest deal in Aurora's history. The merger announcement is tomorrow, and it's going to transform the company. If only she knew that the merger she was so proud of was actually a carefully orchestrated takeover. Aurora Media had been struggling for years, losing money and market share. My team at Zenith had been quietly buying up shares through various shell companies for months. Tomorrow's announcement wouldn't be a merger, it would be an acquisition, and Isabella's big deal was actually negotiated by her assistant. That's wonderful, Isabella. I'm sure tomorrow will be quite a change, I said quietly. She missed the double meaning and raised her glass in a self-congratulatory toast. to success, something some people will never understand. My mother beamed at her, and my father nodded approvingly. They saw Isabella as the perfect daughter with the perfect career. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was probably another update about the interviews. I'd insisted on personally meeting all of Aurora's senior executives to decide who would stay after the acquisition. Isabella's interview was scheduled for 9 a.m. Excuse me, I need to take this call, I said, standing up. Oh, honey, don't tell me you're still doing those late-night customer service jobs, my mother sighed. I stepped away from the table and found a quiet corner in the hotel hallway. My assistant's text confirmed that everything was set for tomorrow. The conference room was ready, security was briefed, and all the paperwork was in order. Looking back at my family through the open doors of the dining room, I allowed myself a small smile. They had no idea that the family failure they dismissed for so long was about to turn their world upside down. The next morning, as I stood in my private elevator at Zenith Innovations headquarters, looking out at the city waking up through the glass walls, I saw a different person in the reflection. A woman in a perfectly tailored Chanel suit, exuding confidence. "Good morning, Miss Thompson," my executive assistant, Ryan, greeted me as I stepped onto the top floor. "The Aurora media executives are waiting in the main conference room. Your sister arrived 15 minutes early." Of course, she did. Isabella always had to be the first, the most eager, the most prepared. How many times has she mentioned her senior VP title? I asked, unable to resist. Ryan checked his tablet, his lips twitching. 7 times in the first 10 minutes. She also made sure everyone knew about the Thompson deal. I smoothed my jacket and checked my appearance one last time in the brushed steel wall. Our security team was in position, and all phones and recording devices had been collected according to the standard protocol for acquisition meetings. The official paperwork was ready. I took a deep breath. Let's not keep them waiting any longer. Now, here in the conference room, as I watched Isabella's face shift from shock to anger, I explained, "Isabella, this isn't a merger. It's an acquisition. Zenith Innovations now owns 51% of Aurora's shares, purchased through various subsidiary companies over the past 12 months. Your so-called big deal was negotiated by your assistant, and you've been taking credit for your team's work while spending most of your time at social events." The other executives shifted uncomfortably. They'd all known the truth about Isabella's leadership style, but had never dared to speak up. As of 9 a.m. This morning, Aurora Media is a subsidiary of Zenith Innovations. We'll be making immediate changes to the executive structure, I continued. Isabella stood up so quickly that her chair rolled backward. "You can't do this. I'm a senior vice president. I've built relationships and made connections. Your position is being eliminated, along with several other redundant executive roles. However, most employees below the executive level will be retained. Zenith believes in recognizing real talent and hard work," I said smoothly. The next hour was a flurry of signatures, legal formalities, and stunned silence. One by one, the Aurora executives left, leaving me alone with Isabella. She stood by the window, her composure completely shattered. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" She whispered. "Would you have believed me? When have you ever believed I could achieve anything significant?" I replied, gathering my papers slowly. She turned to face me, tears streaking down her face. "All these years, at every family dinner, every holiday, you were mocked and underestimated. And you offered me an entry-level position at a company I was about to acquire. That was quite amusing." Just then, my phone buzzed. It was my parents' number. Isabella's phone was probably blowing up too. I answered on speaker. "Denise, tell me this isn't true. You've been lying to us all these years." My mother's shrill voice came through. "I never lied. You just never asked the right questions. You were too busy celebrating Isabella's achievements to notice mine. While you were offering to help me find a real job, I was building a billion-dollar company," I said calmly. My father's voice, heavy with regret, came through. "Why keep it a secret for so long?" "Because I wanted to succeed on my own terms, not for family approval or bragging rights at reunions, but for myself," I replied. After ending the call, I gathered my things to leave. At the door, I turned back to Isabella. Oh, and about that entry-level position you offered last night? You might be needing it yourself soon. Feel free to submit your resume to HR. The next family reunion was a different story. The condescending comments about my career were gone. Relatives who had once dismissed me now hung on my every word. Isabella was notably absent. She'd taken a job at a smaller firm and was said to have a newfound appreciation for humility and hard work. My parents struggled to reconcile their image of me as an unsuccessful daughter with the powerful CEO I'd become. They alternated between excessive pride and obvious discomfort, especially when friends asked why they'd never mentioned their daughter ran Zenith Innovations. As for me, I finally moved into a bigger office with my name on the building. Sometimes, when I work late, I can see my old small apartment from my window. It reminds me that success isn't always visible on the surface, and the quietest person in the room might just be the most powerful. Now, when people ask about my path to success, I tell them the truth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising above. And sometimes, the person everyone underestimates turns out to be the one they should have feared all along.